Reality begins with a quiet deception, one so gentle that it folds itself seamlessly into every moment of our lives. The ground beneath us seems firm, the mountains timeless, the bodies we inhabit reassuringly substantial. Our senses cling to these impressions, weaving a comforting narrative in which solidity feels absolute. Yet when the mind pauses and drifts inward, when curiosity dares to peel back the familiar surface, a subtle fracture appears in the story we trust, hinting that beneath every certainty lies a deeper, more unstable truth. For as the gaze moves closer, the assurance of matter begins to unravel. The objects we touch, the walls that enclose us, even the bones that hold us upright, are built from atoms so small and so sparsely populated that they resemble tiny worlds surrounded by vast unoccupied space. Each atom is a cathedral of emptiness, with a nucleus no larger than a dust mote on an endless plane and electrons tracing ghost-like paths through silent voids. Here a question emerges. Why does something made almost entirely of nothing feel so immovably real? The answer drifts toward forces rather than substance. What we call solidity is merely the refusal of one pattern of energy to pass through another, a delicate balancing act of electromagnetic resistance dressed up as firmness. Yet the truth may be stranger still, because even the nucleus, the supposed heart of matter, is itself mostly empty, a cluster of fleeting particles held together by invisible tension. Beneath that, deeper still, lie quantum fields fluctuating ceaselessly, suggesting that matter is not a thing but a momentary arrangement in a restless sea. And this is where the story bends. As we shrink our perspective further, passing the boundaries of the atom, the idea of solidity dissolves entirely, replaced by probabilities, vibrations, and the faint whisper of something that is not quite substance and not quite void. Reality becomes a pattern of likelihoods layered upon emptiness, a shimmering tapestry stretched across an abyss. The distinction between something and nothing begins to blur, leaving only the fragile recognition that the world is more hollow than our senses dare admit. Yet this revelation does not end at the small. When the perspective expands outward, climbing beyond human scales and gliding into the grand theater of the cosmos, the same profound emptiness reappears. Stars are separated by light years of darkness, galaxies drift in oceans of nothingness, and even the magnificent clusters that define the cosmic web float within gaps so wide they defy imagination. At these scales, the universe resembles an intricate frost stretched thin over an infinite night. But here another question rises. If emptiness dominates both the smallest and largest realms, what does that say about the nature of existence itself? Perhaps reality is not a structure but a suggestion, a brief illumination shaped by the constraints of our perception. Or maybe the void is not truly empty, but filled with hidden energies and unseen architectures that our senses were never built to witness. As this thought settles, unease and wonder intertwine. The betrayal of the senses becomes a doorway rather than a wound, inviting us to reconsider everything we assume about the world. And in this invitation lies a deeper promise, that by acknowledging the illusion of solidity, we begin to glimpse the subtle, intricate, and mysterious scaffolding upon which the universe rests. To understand why the universe is ruled not by substance but by silence, we must drift backward to the earliest breaths of time, when everything that exists was compressed into a blazing, trembling point of unimaginable density. In that incandescent beginning, matter and energy were so tightly interwoven that emptiness seemed impossible, a concept without meaning. Yet hidden beneath the chaos was a quiet tendency, a subtle leaning toward spaciousness, as though the universe already carried the seed of vastness within its first trembling moments. When the Big Bang unfolded, space itself did not merely grow, it surged outward with a ferocity that defied comprehension. This expansion raced ahead of matter's ability to occupy it, stretching the newborn cosmos faster than particles could gather, collide, or cling together. Here a question emerges. Why would creation begin with an explosion that immediately outran its own contents, leaving behind chamber after chamber of unfilled possibility? Perhaps the answer lies in the strange prelude to everything, the epoch of inflation, when the universe ballooned in a fraction of a second by an amount that dwarfs human intuition. During this fleeting interval, quantum fluctuations, tiny ripples in the fabric of existence, were pulled apart and magnified, becoming the first seeds of structure. Yet the truth may be stranger still, because inflation created far more space than matter could ever hope to fill, imprinting emptiness as the universe's dominant feature. These fluctuations, once microscopic, became the scaffolding upon which galaxies would later emerge, but between them lay vast regions that would forever remain barren. The cosmic web was born not as a lattice of fullness, but as an intricate pattern woven from absence. As the universe cooled, matter attempted to gather itself, collapsing under gravity into clouds that ignited the first stars and sculpted the earliest galaxies. But even as these islands of light formed, they were separated by oceans of nothingness so deep that light would struggle for millions of years to cross them. The more matter congealed, the more pronounced the voids became, revealing a paradox at the heart of creation. Structure arises only because most of space remains empty. Like dew collecting on an invisible spiderweb, matter traced delicate threads across a backdrop of silence. And this is where the story bends again. The imbalance that allowed matter to persist at all, the slight excess of particles over antiparticles, was so minuscule that if it had differed by even the faintest margin, the universe would have remained a smooth, glowing mist without stars, galaxies, or life. Here a deeper question whispers through the darkness. What if the structure of everything began with a flaw, a delicate imperfection that tipped the cosmic scales? Without that asymmetry, there would be no atoms, no planets, no consciousness contemplating the void. Yet the emptiness surrounding these structures is not merely absence. At quantum scales, the vacuum teems with restless activity, fields flickering with virtual particles that appear and vanish, a churning sea beneath the calm exterior. This microscopic restlessness mirrors the vast cosmic voids, suggesting that the universe expresses emptiness in every domain, from the subatomic to the intergalactic. Perhaps nothingness is not a void but a stage upon which existence briefly gathers before dissolving again into silence. As the cosmic web continued to form, galaxies drew into clusters, clusters into superclusters, and superclusters into filaments stretching across billions of light years. Yet between these luminous strands lie regions so empty that a single atom per cubic meter would be considered abundant. The universe, expanding still, deepens these hollows, widening the gulf between galaxies until the night itself seems to retreat from them. And here the unsettling truth emerges. Emptiness is not a failure of creation, but its dominant expression, the natural consequence of a universe that grew too quickly for matter to keep pace. As this recognition settles, awe and unease intertwine. The voids between galaxies become more than distances. They become clues to our origins, silent witnesses to a time when space was born faster than anything could fill it. And in their vast, echoing expanses, we glimpse the profound possibility that the universe was shaped not by what it contains, but by the immeasurable depths it leaves untouched. Beneath every atom, beneath every proton and neutron, beneath even the quivering threads of energy that form the smallest known particles, there lies a realm that defies every instinct we have about emptiness. Here, at the trembling floor of existence, silence is an illusion and stillness a myth. What we call the quantum vacuum is not the absence of things, but the presence of possibility, a boundless ocean where particles appear and vanish in an instant, leaving behind only the faintest tremor of their brief existence. And this is where the story bends, for the deeper we descend, the more we realize that nothingness may be the most active ingredient in the universe. In this strange frontier, virtual particles rise like bubbles in boiling water, flickering into existence before annihilating themselves in a heartbeat. They cannot be captured, measured, or held, yet their influence pervades everything. They tug on electrons, alter the behavior of atoms, and even push on metal plates placed too close together. This subtle force, known as the Casimir effect, reveals that the vacuum is not passive. It exerts pressure, responds to geometry, and whispers its presence through delicate experiments. Here a question emerges. How can something that should contain nothing at all generate a measurable force? The answer drifts toward a startling revelation. The vacuum is filled with fields, each one extending throughout the universe, shimmering with latent energy even when no particle is present. These fields fluctuate constantly, as if reality itself is unable to remain perfectly still, trembling with an irreducible restlessness. Perhaps this activity is the true foundation of existence, with particles simply emerging as local disturbances, brief ripples upon a deeper sea. Yet the truth may be stranger still, because when physicists attempt to calculate the total energy of this vacuum, the numbers spiral into the realm of the impossible. Some equations suggest that the energy of empty space is effectively infinite, so immense that if it manifested fully, the universe would tear itself apart. Other theories propose that nature somehow cancels out most of this energy with exquisite precision, leaving only the faint residue we observe as dark energy. But this delicate cancellation would require fine-tuning so extreme that it borders on the miraculous. And here the tension sharpens. Is emptiness the ultimate reservoir of cosmic power, or have we fundamentally misunderstood the equations that describe it? As we linger on this paradox, another mystery rises from the depths. If the vacuum is the true baseline of reality, then matter itself may be secondary, a temporary configuration of vibrations dancing across the surface of an invisible ocean. In this view, particles are not building blocks, but momentary notes struck from the underlying fields, their existence dependent on the restless fluctuations that propagate beneath them. Such a perspective invites an unsettling reflection. Perhaps the universe is not built from things, but from the behavior of nothingness itself. Yet competing theories tug in different directions. Some argue that the vacuum contains a constant density of energy that drives the expansion of the universe, pushing galaxies away from one another with a persistent, gentle force. Others claim that our understanding of quantum fields is incomplete, that unknown principles may tame the vacuum's energy and reconcile it with the large-scale calmness of the cosmos. Here a deeper question whispers through the silence. Are we glimpsing the true machinery of reality, or merely the edge of a greater mystery we are not yet equipped to comprehend? As these possibilities unfold, the quantum vacuum begins to resemble a hidden engine, quietly shaping the behavior of particles, influencing the structure of space-time, and guiding the evolution of the cosmos. Its fluctuations may have sown the seeds for galaxies during the earliest moments of inflation, carving the subtle imprints that later grew into clusters, voids, and the magnificent cosmic web. And yet, this same vacuum remains largely unknowable, its energy both essential and perplexing, its nature both foundational and elusive. As the mind drifts across this paradox, awe and unease intertwine once more. The vacuum, once imagined as a peaceful void, becomes a realm of inexhaustible complexity, a place where the boundary between existence and non-existence dissolves into shimmering ambiguity. And in this revelation lies a profound possibility that the universe we see, rich with stars, galaxies, and life, may be nothing more than a delicate ripple riding atop an endless, unseen ocean of restless nothingness. Space was once imagined as a silent backdrop, a vast and indifferent emptiness upon which stars performed their luminous choreography. It seemed passive, invisible, and utterly neutral, a stage that cared nothing for the actors upon it. Yet as our understanding deepened, this simple picture dissolved, revealing that the very thing we had dismissed as nothing was quietly shaping the destiny of everything. Space, far from being a hollow void, behaves like a living fabric, bending under weight, stretching under expansion, and rippling when disturbed by violent events in the cosmos. And this is where the story bends, for the more we learn about this fabric, the more mysterious its nature becomes. Einstein's insight shattered centuries of certainty by showing that matter does not merely reside within space. It alters the geometry of the space around it. A star curves the fabric beneath it, and planets follow those curves not because they are pulled, but because space itself directs their motion. Here a question emerges. How can something so empty act with such authority, bending the paths of worlds and dictating the flow of time? The unsettling answer is that space, though nearly devoid of matter, possesses structure, an invisible architecture capable of storing energy, transmitting influence, and determining the very rhythm of the universe. The deeper we examine this architecture, the stranger it appears. Space can be stretched, and the stretching affects everything within it. It can contract, and that contraction reshapes the fate of galaxies. It can ripple, as seen in gravitational waves that race across the cosmos after black holes collide, trembling the universe like the faint aftershock of a distant storm. Yet between these dynamic events lies a haunting simplicity. Most of space is empty to an unimaginable degree, far emptier than any vacuum we can create on Earth. How, then, does such absence wield such profound power? Perhaps the answer lies in the geometric nature of reality itself. Gravity is not a force pushing or pulling, but the natural motion of objects through curved spacetime. This curvature, this bending of the invisible, guides light, sculpts orbits, and dictates the collapse of stars. But the truth may be stranger still, because space also possesses energy even when no matter is present, an ambient pressure that accelerates the expansion of the universe. Here the vacuum reveals its dual identity, both empty and potent, silent yet influential, a quiet architect behind every cosmic structure. As we drift deeper into this paradox, another thought arises. If space behaves like a fabric, does that imply it has substance? Or is this fabric only a metaphor for something deeper, a shadow of a reality we cannot yet perceive? Some theories suggest that space-time is woven from quantum threads too small to detect, fluctuating in ways that give rise to gravity itself. Others imagine space as emergent, a collective illusion born from more fundamental processes, like a tapestry whose pattern emerges only when countless threads are viewed together. Yet even these ideas do not dissolve the central mystery. Why should emptiness possess the ability to shape fate? The more we contemplate this question, the more the ground beneath our understanding seems to shift. Space, the very medium that defines distance, direction, and duration, is neither solid nor stable. It stretches relentlessly as the universe expands, carrying galaxies farther apart with every passing moment. It curves gently around planets, twists violently in the presence of black holes, and ripples with the echoes of ancient cataclysms. And all of this arises not from matter, but from the properties of the void itself. As this realization settles, awe and unease intertwine. The universe is governed not just by the stars and galaxies we see, but by the subtle, invisible fabric that holds them. Space, seemingly empty, is alive with influence, a silent force that sculpts reality while remaining profoundly enigmatic. And in this revelation lies a final, lingering question. If the very background of existence is active and unstable, how much of reality rests upon foundations we have barely begun to understand? Only a small fraction of the universe belongs to the world we know. The stars we see, the planets we walk upon, the atoms composing every breath and heartbeat. All of this luminous matter forms less than 5% of the cosmic inventory. The rest exists in shadows, unseen yet overwhelmingly present, a silent majority whose influence outweighs everything familiar. And this is where the story bends, for as we peer deeper into the darkness, we encounter forces that refuse to reveal themselves, shaping the cosmos while remaining hidden behind a veil we cannot lift. Dark matter entered the stage not through direct detection, but through a troubling inconsistency. Galaxies spin far too quickly for their visible mass to hold them together. By ordinary physics, their stars should scatter into the void like sparks from a dying fire. Yet they remain intact, as though enveloped by an invisible scaffolding providing the gravity they lack. Here a question emerges. What unseen structure could glue entire galaxies into coherence? The answer, or at least the name we give in place of an answer, is dark matter, an invisible architecture threaded through the cosmos, outweighing ordinary matter by a factor of 5. Its presence can only be inferred through gravitational whispers, the distortion of starlight, the motion of galaxies, the subtle warping of space itself. But the truth may be stranger still. Because dark matter interacts so little with the world, we know that trillions of its particles may pass through us every second without leaving a trace. Perhaps it forms halos around galaxies, filaments across intergalactic space, or ancient clumps drifting silently between the stars. Or maybe it is something even more elusive, existing in dimensions or forms beyond human intuition. In every scenario, we face the same unsettling recognition. The universe we inhabit rests upon a hidden foundation we cannot touch. Yet the deeper horror lies not in dark matter, but in something more pervasive, more commanding, and far more mysterious. In the late 20th century, astronomers discovered that the universe is not merely expanding, it is accelerating, as though pushed by a force permeating all of space. This force, dubbed dark energy, behaves like a pressure woven into the very fabric of the vacuum, driving galaxies apart with increasing speed. And here the tension sharpens. If dark energy fills the cosmos uniformly, then the emptiness between galaxies is not empty at all, but charged with a quiet, persistent power that dominates the fate of everything. Could this energy be nothing more than the restless vacuum itself, the same quantum turbulence that flickers beneath particles and fields? If so, the universe is being pushed apart by the energy of nothingness, a paradox that unsettles even the most seasoned physicists. Yet calculations of vacuum energy overshoot reality by absurd magnitudes, suggesting that some vast cancellation hides the true essence of the phenomenon. The equations argue one thing, the cosmos does another, and between them stretches a gulf of confusion that threatens to unravel our understanding of fundamental reality. As we drift through these possibilities, a deeper question emerges. If dark matter and dark energy account for 95% of existence, what does it mean to call ordinary matter real? Perhaps we are the anomaly, a faint glow adrift in a sea of invisible forces. Or maybe these unseen components are not separate entities, but different expressions of the same underlying structure, a hidden architecture woven into the void. In this light, the universe becomes a place where the emptiness is not absence but abundance, filled with unseen realms that guide the motion of galaxies and the evolution of cosmic time. Some theories imagine dark matter as particles beyond the standard model, whispering through the universe with imperceptible interactions. Others propose that it may not be matter at all but a modification of gravity, suggesting that our understanding of space's curvature is incomplete. Dark energy, too, inspires competing visions, a constant pressure in space-time, a dynamic field shifting across epochs, or an emergent property arising from deeper quantum processes. Each idea offers a fragment of truth while leaving the whole hidden, like glimpses of a vast landscape seen only through narrow cracks in a wall. As these competing theories pull at the edges of comprehension, awe and dread intertwine. The cosmic majority is invisible not because it is absent, but because it operates on planes we are only beginning to imagine. The galaxies we admire, the stars we chart, the atoms that compose our bodies, all drift like luminous debris on an ocean whose depths remain uncharted. And in this revelation lies a final, haunting thought. Perhaps the universe is not defined by the matter we see, but by the endless, unseen forces that shape it from within the darkness. At the heart of existence lies a question so old that every civilization has whispered it into firelight and carved it into stone. Why is there something rather than nothing? The universe, after all, is overwhelmingly empty, a vast domain where matter is the exception rather than the rule. Yet from this emptiness arise stars and oceans, cells and minds, brief islands of being floating upon an immeasurable sea. And this is where the story bends. For the more deeply we examine the fabric of reality, the more it seems that existence is a fragile bloom emerging from the faintest tremor in the void. Ancient myths tried to soothe this unease by imagining creation as an intentional act. Some spoke of gods lifting order from chaos, others of cosmic eggs cracking open to reveal a world already waiting inside. These stories offered comfort, suggesting that the universe began with purpose rather than accident. But as our understanding shifted from myth to cosmology, a subtler and more unsettling narrative emerged, that everything we see condensed from fluctuations in a vacuum, a realm where particles and possibilities flicker like embers in the dark. Here a question emerges. Are we the children of design, or the brief crystallization of deeper physical laws? Modern physics suggests that the vacuum is not emptiness but potential, a restless backdrop from which matter can momentarily arise. Perhaps, like frost appearing on a window when conditions align, atoms precipitated out of this underlying sea, forming structures as delicate and temporary as patterns in cooling water. In this view, existence is not guaranteed but contingent, a rare phenomenon requiring the perfect balance of energy, symmetry, and chance. Yet the truth may be stranger still, because the same vacuum that allows matter to emerge also threatens to erase it, tugging at the edges of stability with its constant fluctuations. As we drift through these possibilities, the paradox deepens. If matter is only a ripple in the vacuum, what then of life, thought, and awareness? Perhaps consciousness is the universe briefly awakening to itself, a moment of clarity rising from an otherwise indifferent expanse. Some philosophers imagine the mind as an emergent property of complexity, arising inevitably wherever matter is allowed to persist. Others wonder whether consciousness is woven into the fabric of reality itself, a fundamental aspect of the same void that births particles and stars. The tension sharpened by this mystery lingers in the mind. Are we observers of the universe, or expressions of it? The fragility of being becomes more pronounced as we recognize how little of the cosmos is hospitable to existence. Our entire history unfolds on a thin surface of matter surrounding a planet orbiting an ordinary star, itself one grain of light in a galaxy adrift in darkness. Between galaxies stretch voids so vast that light may never traverse them, and within atoms lie gulfs so deep that particles seem like distant islands. We are suspended between these immensities, held aloft by structures that could dissolve with the slightest shift in physical law. Yet it is precisely this fragility that gives existence its poignancy. Ancient stories once imagined the world resting on the back of a cosmic creature or upheld by divine will. Today we understand that it rests instead upon symmetries that nearly failed to break, fluctuations that almost canceled out, and forces tuned so delicately that a minor alteration would have left the universe barren. And this recognition carries its own kind of awe. For if being emerges from almost nothing, then every moment of existence is a testament to improbable balance, a fleeting harmony carved from the restless vacuum beneath. As the mind lingers on this paradox, awe and unease intertwine. We are temporary ripples in a deeper nothingness, conscious for an instant before dissolving back into the silence from which we came. Yet in that instant, the universe knows itself. And in that brief awakening, reality reveals that even within overwhelming emptiness, something extraordinary can arise, a thin frost of matter coating an abyss, shimmering for a moment before fading into the dark. As we peer deeper into the vacuum, past the flickering fields and restless virtual particles, a new frontier emerges, one where the line between physics and metaphysics thins into near transparency. For if emptiness is not empty, if the vacuum is a seething foundation of all existence, then what else might dwell within its unseen depths? Here the story bends once more, shifting from what we know to what we barely dare to imagine, as theories begin to suggest that hidden universes or unseen dimensions may reside within the very space we call void. String theory offers one of the boldest visions, proposing that the fabric of reality is woven from vibrating strings far smaller than any particle we can detect. These strings require additional dimensions curled so tightly that they escape perception, dimensions that shape the nature of forces and particles while remaining forever hidden from sight. Here a question emerges. Could these compact dimensions define the structure of the vacuum, filling it not with emptiness, but with unseen geometries that determine everything from mass to charge. In this picture, the void becomes a multidimensional labyrinth, a silent architecture shaping the universe from beneath its visible surface. Yet string theory is only one contender. Brain cosmology imagines that our universe is a three-dimensional membrane floating in a higher-dimensional expanse, like a sheet of light drifting within a boundless sea. Other brains may lie parallel to ours, separated by distances too small or too vast to comprehend. Collisions between these brains could create entire universes in a flash of energy, suggesting that the Big Bang itself may have been the echo of such a cosmic encounter. And the tension deepens as we consider the implications. If brains drift through a higher dimensional void, then empty space between galaxies may conceal structures or worlds beyond our perception. Quantum loop gravity presents another perspective, suggesting that space is not continuous but composed of discrete loops or quanta woven together like the threads of a cosmic tapestry. In this vision, the vacuum contains granular texture, a latticework so fine that it appears smooth at human scales but reveals itself as a network of tiny, interlocking loops. Such a structure implies that space may undergo phase changes, fluctuations, or transitions we cannot yet detect. Perhaps entire realities unfold within these loops, embedded in the microscopic architecture of spacetime itself. And this is where the story grows even stranger. Some theories propose that parallel universes may fluctuate within the same vacuum sea, blooming briefly before fading, or coexisting alongside our own in dimensions we cannot access. These universes might share physical laws with ours or diverge completely, forming an unseen cosmic archipelago where each island drifts independently through the deep darkness. The vacuum becomes not a void but a landscape, a vast and varied terrain of potential realities. As we drift across these possibilities, discomfort mingles with wonder. For every theory provides a glimpse into what might exist beyond the veil, yet none delivers certainty. The disagreements among scientists reveal the boundary of current knowledge, a frontier where imagination and mathematics collide without resolution. And here another question rises. If our universe is only one layer among many, what lies beneath or above, within or beyond? Perhaps the void contains the blueprint of all existence, encoded in vibrations, loops, or higher dimensional structures. Or perhaps reality is forever layered, each dimension resting upon deeper foundations we will never fully uncover. The vacuum might be a gateway, a reservoir, a hidden library of possibilities from which universes emerge and into which they eventually dissolve. As these thoughts settle, the mind hovers in a state of awe tinged with unease. The visible universe, once assumed to be the totality of existence, becomes only a surface, thin, fragile, and profoundly limited. Beneath it stretches the vast architecture of the unseen, a domain where hidden dimensions whisper, parallel worlds drift, and the vacuum itself may contain more mysteries than all the galaxies combined. And in this revelation lies a final, haunting possibility, that reality, as we know it, is only one small chamber in a far greater structure of existence, most of which remains forever concealed within the silence of the void. In the distant reaches of cosmic time, far beyond the lifespan of any star or galaxy we know, a slow and inevitable transformation unfolds. Emptiness begins its final ascent. The universe that once blazed with light will dim, cool, and unravel, leaving behind a silence so complete that even memory seems impossible. And this is where the story bends, for the future of everything we cherish is shaped not by matter, but by the vast and patient void surrounding it. As the ages pass, stars exhaust their fuel and collapse into embers, white dwarfs fading to black, neutron stars cooling into darkness, and even black holes slowly evaporating through the faint whisper of Hawking radiation. Galaxies drift apart under the relentless push of dark energy, their mutual gravity no longer strong enough to bind them. Here a question emerges. What becomes of a cosmos where every beacon of light grows distant, faint, and eventually extinct? The unsettling answer is isolation, a universe stretched so wide that each remaining structure stands alone in an ever-deepening night. The expansion does not slow, it accelerates. Space itself grows faster than matter can respond, pulling galaxies away until their light can no longer reach one another. Over unimaginable epochs, the fabric of space-time continues to stretch, thinning the universe into a cold expanse where energy becomes scarce and interactions rare. Perhaps, far in the future, even atoms will be torn apart as dark energy overwhelms the forces that bind them. In such a fate, the so-called Big Rip, the universe does not simply fade, it disintegrates from the inside out. Yet the truth may be stranger still. Even if the cosmos avoids this violent end, the long, slow heat death looms ahead, a state where all gradients vanish, all motion ceases, and the universe drifts into perfect thermodynamic stillness. In this vision, emptiness wins utterly. Matter becomes a temporary aberration, a brief flicker in an otherwise eternal void. The loneliness of such a future is almost unbearable to imagine, a realm where time loses meaning because nothing remains to measure it. But here another possibility rises, faint yet persistent, like the echo of a hidden truth. The vacuum, even in its quietest state, is never truly empty. Its restless fields continue to fluctuate, carrying within them the seeds of potential. Some theories propose that new universes may ignite within these fluctuations, bubbles of space-time budding from the vacuum and expanding into their own realms, untouched by the darkness surrounding them. Perhaps our universe itself began as such a bubble, emerging from a deeper emptiness that remains forever beyond our reach. If this is so, then the end of our cosmos may not be a final silence, but a transition, one chamber of existence giving way to another. The void that seems so desolate becomes a cradle, a reservoir of possibility where new beginnings germinate. In this light, emptiness is not the enemy of creation but its partner, providing the backdrop against which bursts of being arise again and again. As the mind lingers on this vision, awe and sorrow intertwine. The universe we know will eventually fade, its matter dissolving into the quiet from which it emerged. Yet within that quiet may lie the promise of renewal, a whisper that the cosmos is larger, older, and more cyclic than we can understand. And in this final reflection lies a haunting truth. Emptiness may win in the end, but from its depths, something new may always find a way to begin. From the first moment of cosmic expansion to the final whisper of fading starlight, a single presence has remained constant, silent, invisible, inevitable. Emptiness, once dismissed as a passive backdrop, reveals itself as the quiet architect of all things. Every thread we have followed returns to this revelation. The universe is sculpted not by matter, but by the vast, restless vacuum from which matter briefly emerges and into which it inevitably dissolves. And this is where the story bends for the last time, as the familiar world dissolves into a deeper, more unsettling truth. The vacuum, far from being nothing, is a sea of hidden laws and fluctuating energies. It gives rise to particles, guides the formation of galaxies, and fuels the accelerating expansion that will one day stretch the cosmos beyond recognition. Gravity itself, the gentle curvature of space, arises from the geometry of this emptiness. Dark energy may be its persistent pressure, and dark matter its unseen scaffolding. Here a question emerges. If the vacuum carries the blueprint of the universe, is matter merely an afterthought, a fleeting ripple across a far more fundamental ocean? The more deeply we explore this ocean, the more the hierarchy of reality appears inverted. Atoms are mostly empty, galaxies drift in vast voids, and space-time itself is a dynamic field woven from absence. Even consciousness, the most intimate of experiences, may be a brief awakening of patterns arising within this vacuum's intricate structure. The boundaries between being and non-being blur, revealing a cosmos that is less a collection of things and more a choreography of relationships, tensions, and fluctuations occurring in the spaces between. Across cultures and ages, humans have tried to describe creation through myths of emergence, light from darkness, order from chaos, form from the formless. Modern science, in its own language, echoes these ancient intuitions. The universe blossoms from a quantum vacuum, its laws encoded not in material substance, but in the symmetries and potentials of the void. Perhaps we have misunderstood nothingness entirely. Perhaps the vacuum is not the absence of reality, but the wellspring from which all realities emerge. As we drift further, another possibility begins to glimmer. If emptiness is the true foundation, what lies beneath even that? Some theories suggest deeper layers, hidden dimensions, pregeometric phases of space-time, or vast landscapes of potential universes waiting to ignite. Others whisper that the vacuum may not be fundamental at all, but a surface resting on still deeper principles beyond imagination. The closer we approach this frontier, the more the universe seems to collapse into a single, profound question: what is the source of the silence beneath creation? In this final reflection, awe and vulnerability intertwine. We, who see ourselves as solid beings living in a material world, are revealed as brief concentrations of structure in a cosmos dominated by almost nothing. Our thoughts, our histories, our civilizations are momentary glows within a darkness that stretches across eternity. Yet there is beauty in this fragility, for it connects us to the deepest workings of existence. We are not separate from the void. We are shaped by it, held by it, and ultimately return to it. The narrative fades gently into wonder. If emptiness is the architect of reality, then what deeper reality waits in the silence beneath it? The question lingers, vast and unresolved, carrying the quiet promise that even within nothingness, the universe may be preparing its next beginning.